All right, we're live. 2023 Hall of Fame edition baseball hashtag baseball only show. JML here
Fire Frank here, live.
live live
Live.
from parts unknown. We got some people lurking. I think that's what
Oh,
that's what's been told.
lurking.
Lurkers,
Let's lurk.
right? What's going on? I know there's people out there. Make a comment.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? I know you're there. What are we talking about today?
Yeah,
No, we're not doing a break tonight. We're talking about the Hall of Fame.
that's true.
But stay tuned for some breaks coming up for sure.
For real.
Some big ones coming up. Wait,
Yeah, yeah, Frank. You better grab a spot if you.
Yeah, I'll get back to you on that for sure. 'Cause you got and this seems like it's gonna be a big, hotly contested.
got got only 7 spots left actually, which
Nice.
is pretty crazy. All right.
Yeah.
Let me pin our That's so crazy. I can't pin the link in chat.
Oh.
No, I think I know why it is. There we go. There we go. What's up, T-Dog? Is this where all the cool kids hang out? Yeah, we got a few cool kids.
Welcome.
It's really weird looking at yourself like as you're doing a show because it's also on a delay.
Yeah, and I find myself uh, doing things so I can figure out how much of a delay we're on here. Yeah, it is. Thanks, Robert.
Robert Hayes stitches and laces, does some brace as well. I'm here, so that's facts. What's up, y'all? Hope yeah, we're having a good day. We're having a good day. You know who's having a great couple of days?
Yeah.
Scott Rowland.
Oh,
You know what's crazy? And this is how much of a late 90s, 2000s kid I am at heart. Scott Rowland, I just think of Limp Bizkit, keep rolling, rolling, rolling. Every time Scott Rowland gets brought up, I feel like he came out to that song once or twice.
you'd have to have, right? There's no way they couldn't have at least tried that.
And what's funny is that's the first thing I think about when I hear Scott Rowland. You know what I've never thought of?
I'll take a guess, but first doesn't count. Hall of Fame?
Hall of Famer. But it doesn't matter what I think.
No.
It doesn't matter. The 389 baseball writers decided on his 6th year of eligibility, receiving 297 votes, 76.3% of the vote. That's Scott Rowland's a Hall of Famer. This is very controversial because he started on the ballot. He was under like 10% his first year of eligibility. He was at like I'm going to say like 8.9% now in his 6th year to make it. And it seems like the case for him making it is position. I guess he's 9th all time in wins above replacement for third baseman. So that kind of gave him the edge. He has the 1 World Series ring and he's got the 8 Gold Gloves, which I believe is 3rd all time. Oh, awesome, T-Dog. Make sure it's to the PMB box. I hope it is. Appreciate it. What were your thoughts? Because I sent Fire Frank a thing, a post saying Scott Rowland made it. He's like, wait,
Broke the news to
that's
me.
it?
Yeah, I wasn't even prepared for that, guys. I'll be honest. Yeah, I mean, I thought there was a chance it could be maybe one person. I didn't. I'll be honest. No disrespect to Scott Rowland, but yeah, I wasn't expecting that. Um, Actually, yeah, you said the first thing you think of. I'm thinking of him like he was playing just a few years ago, but it's obviously been quite some time.
Yeah.
It's wild. Don't get old, guys. It sucks.
So just we'll take our faces out of the picture here for a second. Scott Rowland, career numbers, not bad. This is the Hall of Fame. This should not be the Hall of Very Good, right? I feel like there's some years they put someone in just to put someone in, but they already put someone in. They put Fred McGriff in with
Right.
this committee. So don't put anyone in this year if you don't have the star power to put in multiple people. Because next year you have Adrian Beltre. He's going to make it first ballot. You might as well have waited till next year and put a couple guys in. Because at least then you have, we have Beltre in, so we also put Rowland in, we put Helton in, and we'll discuss next year's ballot. Thanks, T-Dog. Looking at this vote and how it played out, Frank, what jumped out at you? I'm going to go first here. I'm not going to go with one we discussed prior, but Jeff Kent statistically is one of the best offensive second baseman of all time, won an MVP. And for whatever reason, he's fallen off the ballot now. 10 years, he only got 46.5% of the vote. Very shocking. What's the case with Jeff Kent? Is it his mercurial nature? Because if you look at it, for second baseman, we're putting Rowland in because he's the 9th best third baseman in the history of baseball. I'm pretty sure Jeff Kent is statistically in the top 9 at second base. So how did he not make it and Rowland made it?
Make a good point there. That does stick out to me as well, for sure. It must just be like the only thing I can think of is like you just said, his attitude, his nature, whatever. He rubs people the wrong way, especially these sports writers. I mean, as far as we know, people are sending in their ballots. It's not like they're coming together and talking about who they want to vote. But don't tell me they don't talk to each other about who they want to vote for. Come on, that definitely sticks out. I mean, Jeff Kent, like he's one of the guys I thought of as one of the big names in baseball.
And you think
think about
that. That's it.
What,
10 years. 10 years.
10 years.
Stitches and laces. It literally, the guy, when you're looking at stats, right? When you're looking at the back of a baseball card, you go, man, this guy's a Hall of Famer, especially based on position. Scott Rowland somehow analytically is the 9th greatest third baseman of all time, and that made his case for the Hall of Fame. It just to me doesn't equate. Like the argument for Scott Rowland to get in could have been the same argument for Jeff Kent, but because the writers and the media did not like Jeff Kent, he's not getting in. But Scott Rowland's getting in because he's a nice guy.
Yeah,
just face facts.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is not even the first time we talked about this, but not even just about Jeff Kent, but just if we're sticking with him for now. This process is broken, guys. I don't know how you can't agree that is true.
It needs to be a
mixture. We're setting precedents here that don't make sense, and we're not even sticking to these precedents.
Maybe he just wasn't paid attention to because all focus was on Bonds. Yeah, but then he even like when he wasn't on the Giants and he was with the Dodgers and the Astros, like he was still a highly productive player. Granted, was he the best defensively? No. But was he a better offensive player at his peak than Scott Rowland? Yes.
Every day of the week, yes.
He was. This is my analogy of Jeff Kent. He was Mike Piazza at second base. they weren't the greatest at their position, but they were one of the top in terms of hitting.
Yeah, that's a perfect comparison right there. I never thought about that one. That's great. Yeah, that's exactly what he is, what he was.
Let me bring up the ballot again.
But the difference is Mike Piazza, beloved by the media.
So Todd Helton,
Really?
obviously the thing holding Todd Helton back, Coors Field, right? And he doesn't exactly have, for a first baseman, he doesn't have the 400 plus home runs. He's sitting at like 370 home runs, 369. But he's got a 316. Like, he probably should be in. And defensively, he was one of the better first basemen in the league.
He's got 2,500 hits. That's sticking out. Sticking out to me right now. Sorry, 316 batting average.
Yep.
He's jumping out more than Scott Rowland does. If that's the bar we're setting here, then by that rule, he should be a Hall of Famer at some point. If not right now, then if we're putting in.
Billy Wagner made a big jump. And let me tell you something. Billy Wagner is the greatest left-handed reliever in the history of baseball. That's just not he is statistically the best left-handed pitcher
he's made.
Relief pitcher in the history of baseball. He should be in.
Yeah, he should be in, and he will be in, I believe. But
he's got 2 more years left. He might sneak in next year, but I think by the 10th year, he's definitely in. Andrew Jones, like if we're gonna put Scott Rowland in, we're putting Andrew Jones in.
Yeah, just putting him in. Yeah, exactly. It's not even gonna ever vote.
Yes, the batting average is awful, but look, 434 home runs. I believe he won an MVP.
And this is a guy who people brought up.
Defensively, he was one of the best center fielders we've ever seen.
And this is not mentioning the fact that he's once he hit his 30s, he pretty much kind of like hit a wall. It wasn't the same. So look at these numbers he had. This is just from when he debuted as an 18-year-old through his 20s, for the most part. Which are these numbers? Insane.
In Sheffield, okay. So my take, if you guys haven't listened to the show, is that all the steroid guys should be in. Just put an asterisk next to their name, right?
Yeah.
And for all intents and purposes, we don't know if Sheffield took steroids or not. It's just he's linked to Balco.
Right. He was linked mostly he said he didn't know he was using the screen, whatever the case may be. But look at these numbers.
But you're telling me that he was never a top 5 player in the game at any time? He definitely was.
I mean,
but then here's the
later in his career when he came to the Yankees, he was an MVP candidate his first couple years there.
Here's the most egregious error of this year.
Oh, yeah, talk about sticking out.
How is Carlos Beltran not between 70 and 80% this year, where he just missed the first year or just got it?
Yeah, he shouldn't be at 46%.
Number 1, Beltran, switch hitter. Yeah. Wow, Beltran didn't make it either.
Nope.
400 plus home runs, 435, 1587. It's just ridiculous. 279 batting average. When you talk about switch hitters, I believe Beltran is 3rd all time in home runs behind Mantle, Murray, and Beltran. Those are the top 3 all time. He's a member of the 300-300 club. He won a World Series, and I think that's actually the detriment to him, is that he won the World Series.
He wasn't linked to any PEDs as far as we know. So yeah, that's it. And honestly, guys, we've talked about this before. Our feelings about the the whole Astro situation, if you will. But I mean, we're gonna hold all that on him. He's the only person that was really punished for that. To be fair, hasn't got a new job with the team since everyone else, is back somewhere. Cora's back with the Red Sox.
And remember something. So we're gonna get into the next 2 names on the ballot that we haven't discussed so far in the show, A-Rod and Manny. So we're putting Sheffield in, right?
Absolutely.
No doubt you put A-Rod and Manny
Oh
in,
no.
even
Yeah.
though they both had the suspensions. Put them in. Put an asterisk. That's it.
Yeah. Whatever you want to do, but put them in.
What's up? You can drop your link if you want, or someone a mod can drop your link. And as much as I hate Kent, his numbers are similar to Roland. And yeah, you're right. That's what we had mentioned. And then if you're gonna drop down on the list, now this is me. I've mentioned this on the show before.
Yes.
Bobby Abreu has sneaky good numbers. 291 batting average, 395 on base percentage, 475. His OPS is 870. 288 home runs, 1,400 RBIs, 400 steals. I don't know. Here's the thing that happened because they put Scott Rowland in.
Domino effect here.
Bobby Abreu can't make the Hall of Fame. Jimmy Rollins can't make the Hall of Fame. You might as well just put every one of these guys in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, Ortiz. That's my other point I'm getting to. We're saying that Ortiz, who his name is on the suspension list that A-Rod was supposedly. The failed to the 2003, right?
Right. It was never publicized whether or not it was reported, but they didn't confirm it. Like he never admitted to it, as A-Rod did.
So he's being punished for being quote unquote honest. A-Rod in this, and you're telling me let's get personalities out of this. You're telling me A-Rod wasn't one of the greatest hitters you've ever seen? Athletes to play in his prime. His arm, his range.
You can argue he was the best player we saw in our generation growing up when we were younger.
Yeah, very much.
I mean, just watching him every day,
In chat, who would you have put in the Hall of Fame? Now, because I had a list originally before, but because
it just throws
they put Roland in, I'm putting 10 people in. I was going to put 4 people in. I put 10 people in.
This is This is worse than the WWE Hall of Fame that people complain about. Speaking of our sister show, talking about people complain about Coco Beware. So, well, the same like argument. Are you as good as Scott Rowland or better? Yes. Okay, then you're in.
Yeah.
They don't need to have a vote at this point.
It's ridiculous. It really is.
And also,
it's not a knock on Scott Rowland.
No.
He was a good player.
Congrats to him anyway, regardless of what we think. Great player.
But what's the difference between him and Robin Ventura besides the World Series? And Nolan Ryan? Really? Torrey Hunter. Yeah, Torrey Hunter just barely kept his eligibility, which is crazy.
Yeah, who didn't? Pour one out, Jacoby Ellsbury. If you've seen him on a milk carton somewhere, no vote.
Then we have next year to discuss the 2024 ballot. All right, let's pull this up.
Yeah.
So we have returning, who we discussed, and then we have the newbies. Beltre. That's okay. There's no argument there.
No doubt.
Joe Mauer should be in first ballot.
Yeah.
I think so, but I don't think they're going to do it.
Yeah, I agree there.
Then you have Chase Utley. Now, Chase Utley and Scott Rowland, you can make the case they're a similar player. But then if you put Chase Utley in the Hall of Fame, why isn't Jeff Kent in the Hall of Fame? Because when I think about great offensive second baseman, I think about Jeff Kent before I think about Chase Utley. Am I wrong?
No.
Then you have David Wright, who he probably would have been a Hall of Famer had not had the back injuries. Bartolo Colon, So Bartolo Colon's an interesting one. Suspension because of PEDs. But his stats would say he's probably a Hall of Famer.
Right. And then I would also add to that the suspension much later in his career when he was making his multiple comebacks.
When he looked like Andre the Giant.
He looked like Andre the Giant. Yes.
What's up, Trev? But think about it.
Come on, guys.
Think about it. Who? Joe Mauer, okay? It's the only catcher in the history of baseball to win. Well, only American League catcher to win a batting title. And guess what? He did it 3 times as a catcher. Won an MVP. Didn't win a World Series. But was a great defensive player, great offensive player. How do you not put based on position? Because now we're using position as a way of putting someone in. Based on position, how is he not first ballot next year? Granted, there's only been 2 catchers to ever make the Hall of Fame on first ballot. Can you name those catchers?
Well, you put me on the spot here. Ooh.
Chat, too. Chat, you can answer that.
I'm going to guess Piazza was one of them?
Nope.
No, he
was like
okay.
5th year or something.
Okay, I was going to say I didn't think he was first. Let's see. Let's go through the catchers.
Stitches and laces, you got one. You got one of them. Johnny Bench.
I was going to say Bench next. That would have been my guess. Not Yogi, right? I didn't think he'd make it. Let's see.
Not Yogi.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Surprisingly enough. But Trevor, you got the second one. Which was was Pudge.
Of course, Pudge.
Who was on the Mitchell report.
Yes.
There's a double standard here. The guy who smiled and shook hands and kissed babies made the Hall of Fame. The guys that didn't, don't. And that's why they have to take the power away from the writers should have a vote, but they should give, I don't know, another committee the opportunity to put these guys in.
Yeah. I mean, whatever you got to do. I don't care if you even poll the current manager. Whatever you want to do. Like they do the All-Star, some of the selections.
It's ridiculous. Now,
so if you polled a lot of these current young players, a lot of them probably vote for some of these guys that they looked up to, like in A-Rod. Like Manny Ramirez.
Let me see what we got going on, chat. Yeah. I think it's a popularity contest of voters not wanting to get flack for voting for PED users. If they support certain people, they could lose respect of their peers, fans, and that could lead to them losing their jobs. Probably. Is Ton Hollinsworth?
Honestly, I'm going to disagree with that.
Yeah, but then the problem is that Hall of Fame vote, I had an issue with that. So Fred McGriff got in, but how does Don Mattingly not get in on that same vote? How does Albert Bell not get in? Albert Bell is clearly the best player. Just because Albert Bell didn't play 19 years like Fred McGriff, he's punished for playing 11. But his 11 years were more impactful than Fred McGriff's 19. So there's a balance there. You have compilers, but then you have peak performers. Albert Bell's peak is better than guys that got it. It's better than Scott Rowland.
Say the least.
What's up, Aiden?
Yeah. And yeah, Pudge was in a misreport. I mean, where are we drawing the line here? People that so certain guys, if they were mentioning these things, are okay, they're getting a pass, but some were not. If we're gonna be fair here, shouldn't it be guys that literally we know publicly took a test that they failed?
Yeah.
Or if you can literally tie them, actually receiving these stuff. But
depends on their organization. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Elaborate on depends on their organization. The fact that Bonds isn't a Hall of Famer says it all. Yeah, him and Clemens. I mean, they're the two greatest, arguably up there respective position or top 5 in their respective hitter and pitcher in the history of the game. They're both not in.
I think a lot of it has to do too with how they're perceived. Bonds wasn't wasn't necessarily the nicest in the media. A-Rod had his moments. He went crazy when he was suspended and
Joey Albert
sued MLB.
Ken, it was 11 years, right? 11 years, his career.
Sounds about right.
I was just saying off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure it was like 11 years he played.
I mean, he was, for the time he was around.
He wasn't a friendly guy, but
no,
come on.
But he got the job done. When I hear this is not about, if we're going by personality or personal,
he did beat it.
Morals, there's a lot of guys that should be disqualified out of the Hall of Fame as we speak. Now,
I mean, Ty Cobb was a racist. He's in the Hall of Fame. I bring it up every time we talk about the Hall of Fame.
And it's probably there was many of those, but he was literally not just that. He was adamantly saying, "Yes, I am."
Yeah. 2025. So think about this. By this time, we're probably Helton, Wagner are in the Hall of Fame, right? We'll just say
right. So you're talking about 25, yeah. So 25. I know we've got Ichiro. He's obviously slam.
Beltre. So then we got Ichiro.
Ichiro's getting
Sabathia. Does CC make it on his first year? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Because
based on everything else, would I put him in there? Yes.
Well, Messina's in.
Right.
So now my argument for pitchers is Mike Messina.
Mike Messina.
It took a while for Messina, but now that Messina's in, Sabathia should be in because Sabathia probably has better numbers.
Yeah, the only thing that'll hold him up at his ERA was like a 3.3 or something.
3.74.
3.74. Okay, that's what's going to hold him back. But a lot of that's later in his career.
And also,
the wins.
He's got 3,083 strikeouts.
Right. He's a Hall of Famer.
But no pitcher that's ever K'd 3,000 people
has not got in.
And CC's one of those guys that's well liked.
Right.
Is it possible in 2025 he basically just squeaks it in because he's well liked?
Possibly.
What do you guys think in chat? Does CC make it in?
I think
with
a lot of
Ichiro
people,
first year.
Maybe because he's like, I think a lot of people will hold him off just because it's his first year and they don't want to do it. But Ichiro will get in, no doubt.
Yeah, no, we're Yankee fans, so I mean we like CC a lot. And he is a very nice guy.
If you look at his numbers,
interactions with him. But like Ichiro, if Ichiro doesn't get 100% of the vote or close to, it's ridiculous.
Yes. And yes, I know there's players that are better to him. Maybe you can argue that aren't in, but yeah, I would have no argument against putting him in 100%. But then again, as we said, we've had people vote against
the one voter who didn't put Jeter in.
Yeah, I know. 100%. Cue the 70. Well, maybe not in this chapter. The 75 comments somewhere about, well, he wasn't that good. He played for the Yankees. Whatever bogus story they're going to concoct next. Look at the numbers, guys. Numbers.
Yeah. What do you?
If you put up those same numbers somewhere else, still a Hall of Famer.
How many rings for CC? He had the one.
Just the one.
How many rings for Ichiro? 0.
Yeah.
0.
He never even played in a World Series.
The problem with Ichiro was he was too loyal to the Mariners until they were not loyal to him. And they traded him to the Yankees. Mauer's rookie cards back in the day were crazy. I remember opening packs with my dad looking for him every pack. Yeah, I mean, if Joe Mauer didn't have the concussion issues, he would probably be, I don't know, spoke about even more. But him, Greg had mentioned that Mauer, Posey, and Molina should all be in the Hall of Fame. They'll all get there. Albert had a 295. Yeah, we mentioned this a few months back. Albert had a 295 batting average, 381 home runs, 1,300 RBIs. Divide the homers and RBIs by 11. You have 30 plus and 100. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And there's probably a couple seasons where he had injuries. So you take those, just do it by 9. You're looking at 36 and like 120 every year.
Yeah, and he didn't play, on necessarily bad teams. He was in
He was in a
the
World
thick of things.
Series.
He was in a World Series. He played on some good Cleveland teams.
He should have been the MVP in '95. They didn't give it to him. They gave it to Mo Vaughn. Why? Because he was well
Not
liked.
like
Well, Mo Vaughn was well liked.
the fact. It just reminded me that Mo Vaughn has an MVP.
See, this is the thing that always comes up. I'm glad Greg mentioned it. That Griffey needed 3 votes. I'm not discussing Griffey. I
Yeah,
think Griffey should got 100%
100.
too.
That's the point we're making here.
The only person to ever get it was Mariano. That's it.
Yeah, and there's people that are going to argue. Well, no, they didn't vote, but people will argue that somehow he doesn't deserve that.
Oh yeah, because he was only a pitch. He was a 1 inning pitcher. So
yeah. We talk about the ninth best third baseman. What about best in that position? Period.
Probably your best postseason pitcher of all time as well.
Yeah,
is Mariano.
Yeah, that stat that always people talk about. More men have walked on the moon that have scored on Mariano in the postseason. Unfortunately, two of those runs were in Game 7 of the World Series, but it happens. You're the GOAT.
Yeah,
you're gonna have those opportunities.
Guys in chat, who's someone that you think should be a Hall of Famer? It could be guys that their eligibility has ran out.
Yeah.
Or guys that are still on the ballot, or current players in the sport.
Hey, I mean, if you look at these votes, there's some people that got to vote. I'm like, really? Even one person voted for that person?
And I'm going to say something probably a little controversial, but I usually do. I love Adrian Beltre. I think he's a hell of a player. But the reason why he's a Hall of Famer is because he came up so young and he stuck around and compiled, and he got better as his career progressed. But he played till I think he was like nearly 40 or 40. And he started at 19 or 20. So he had a long time to compile the 3,000 hits, the 400 plus home runs.
Yeah, I mean, he played to that age. Like I said, Andrew Jones come up young, didn't really play until he was 40. He kind of washed out after he hit his 30s.
And he still finished with like 434 home runs.
Yeah, I mean, that's just with a 10-year prime.
Tim Lincecum, but he won't be. Yeah, so like someone like Tim Lincecum, you can compare his run, his pitching run, which was like 3 years or 4 years to, I wouldn't say Koufaxian, but it was very similar to like Pedro's late 90s, early 2000, 4 or 5 year peak. And Pedro's in the Hall of Fame. Tim Lincecum's not going to be in the Hall of Fame. Pedro was able to stick around for a little bit more and compiled like 200 between 210 220 career wins. And he got the Cy Youngs on top of it, got the World Series. But Lincecum's got the World Series too.
Yeah, but I mean, there was, like you said, a 3 or 4 year period when he was arguably the best pitcher going.
A-Rod, Bonds, Rocket need to be in. I mean, Manny Ramirez needs to be in.
Yeah.
You think about right-handed bats in the history of baseball, Manny Ramirez comes to mind, like one of the best. The guy was so good.
I'll argue he should be in before David Ortiz.
Oh, you're right. Ken, that is the biggest.
Yeah. Well, I think most people agree on that, I would think, at this point. But
you have gambling essentially inside major league stadiums. You have the ads, you have all this stuff.
It's absurd at this point, the amount of ads for gambling.
However, Pete Rose cannot be allowed in the Hall of Fame due to gambling.
Right. And yes, we know he knew he wasn't supposed to do it, still did it. We understand that. There's no evidence of him betting against his own team or throwing games. Yes, he accepted the ban. This was also, when I was like 6 years old. So
yeah, I mean, the honestly,
it's a long time.
If the Hall of Fame, we'll poll the audience here. If the Hall of Fame opened a wing, right, and they were like, you know what we're gonna do? All of the suspected or suspended players are going to go into this side of the Hall of Fame. I think that side of the Hall of Fame would get more people or just as much people walking through it than the people that are clean. So the Sosas, the McGuires, the Mannies, the A-Rods, Bonds, Clemens. And it's funny, I almost said Ortiz, but he's in the regular Hall of Fame along with Pudge. So
all you got to do is say you didn't do it and be likable. And that's all you need. Plausible deniability, you know. We've had whole shows talking about this stuff before, so we know. I think we stand. Everybody knows where we stand on this issue.
I'm going to pull up a picture of someone. Okay, you guys in chat. I'm going to pull up a baseball player from the 90s. He retired in, I don't know, the mid 2000s. He's a Hall of Famer. Name this player before I pull him up. And you're telling me this guy wasn't on roids. Great. My computer's on roids right now.
What are we thinking, chat?
Chat, who do we think? Who do we think this player is? Hall of Famer. A Tim Salmon.
That made me laugh.
Tim Salmon, that's funny. Tim Salmon was a decent player. Him and Garrett Anderson were both. I like both those guys. Darren Erstad,
notorious Yankee killers.
Troy Glass, Sean Figgins.
Oh boy, Figgins! What a pesky player.
I had a soft spot for those Angels teams.
What do we got here? What is the consensus, guys? Jeff Bagwell.
Yep. Yeah, Kent, you're 100% right. I'm pulling up a picture.
I think Kent got it.
Kent, you got it.
Jeff Buff Bagwell.
Vita Blue. What's up, High Risk? Well, my computer is taking a dump right now. But yeah, you guys pull up a picture of Jeff Bagwell yourself. And you're telling me that man and Frank Thomas never touched a needle. But they made the Hall of Fame. It's a little...
Dude. Yes.
I mean, am I crazy? Am I crazy, Frank?
No, you're not crazy. Yes. Well, a lot of players use several things, and we're not holding that against them.
I'm sure Jason Giambi was doing both too, cocaine.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Do you remember that year? You remember that year where I forget, what was it? 06, Frank? 05, 06. Jason Giambi missed essentially the entire year with an intestinal parasite.
Yeah, that was 2004, I think.
Yeah.
Because 2005, he was, I think that was the year he came back, was comeback player of the year. Yeah, 2004, he missed an entire season to a quote unquote intestinal parasite.
How? Well, first of all, what the hell is an intestinal parasite? Second of all, why would it take him out the entire season? And 3, what did he really have? Is the question. And I believe at the time he was wasn't he the second or third highest paid player in baseball? He was
up there.
Stupid contract.
It was only the third year of that big contract he signed.
Oh, you know who should be in the Hall of Fame? I'll give you a little name. I think he's off the ballot. Yeah, he was off the ballot. I think we discussed this. Alfonso Soriano. How is Alfonso Soriano not a Hall of Famer?
By the will be known as the Scott Rowland clause from now on. Yeah.
Like an Ethan. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Guys,
Jeez.
how does the Hall of Fame fix this? How does Cooperstown clean up the Hall of Fame? And I'm not saying clean it up in the way that they've cleaned it up, not putting steroid people. How do you fix the Hall of Fame where this year their election, their ceremony is going to consist of Scott Rowland and Fred McGriff? This is a tourist town. You're putting in two guys that when they were playing, did any one of you any one of you ever turn on the TV to watch them play specifically or go to a game and watch them live? Did any of you do that? I certainly didn't. I never turned on. I was like, oh, Scott Rowland and the Cardinals are playing. It would always be Albert Pujols and the Cardinals are playing. Oh, Scott Rowland's on the team too. He's a good player. He might make the Hall of Fame. I don't think so. He's more borderline. Fred McGriff, he was always a piece, an ensemble piece. He was the supporting actor. You let JML write the ballots. Yeah. I wonder if you compared the ones that made it in and didn't by how many teams they play for. Like, yeah, it's true. McGriff, the Rays, the Cubs, the Braves, the Padres, the Blue Jays. Am I missing a team?
He was like the Edwin Jackson of his time. Played very team.
No one was as bad as him, but
no one's as bad as him. But yeah, probably Braves. I would assume he did win a World Series there, right? So
he'll make it as a Brave, or he'll put a Braves hat on.
So maybe some Braves fans will make the trip to see him, but I can't imagine this being a big sellout this year.
Think about it. So last year they put in. Who did they put in last year? Let me look this up again.
Well, last year was let's see.
When I need my computer, it decides to.
Was it an Ortiz last year?
Oh, really?
Cheater was. Well, I know because they had to
It
do
was. It was no. It was Ortiz.
Yeah. So the year before they
so
it was Cheater.
Fine. He should make the Hall of Fame. It's fine. I have no no qualms with him making the Hall of Fame, but he certainly made it, and other people haven't. Cooperstown, it was sold out for his Hall of Fame. I do not think there's going to be a frenzy to book Cooperstown for election weekend.
Yeah. I mean, this is not like, like Mo or Jeter where people were trying to reserve it before the vote was even announced because they knew, they were going to get in.
That's why next year they better put in 4 or 5 people.
If we can look right now into the mind of Scott Rowland, he's probably saying to himself, wow.
He's going to carry this whole Hall of Fame on his shoulders. This class on his shoulders. Jim Lee? Popularity contest.
If it's a popularity, there's no telling where this ends.
It should be a popularity contest into the, hey, let's put people in that are going to drive tourism to Cooperstown so this place doesn't close.
Yeah. Yes, please. And please don't close.
Yes, Jim Cott got in. That was the old voting. Yeah, he deserved it. He has like the second most gold gloves in the history, or the most, I think, by a pitcher in the history of baseball. It's got like 18 or something like that. Some sick number. Like 280 something wins. But I don't know, guys. Who's Jim Lee? Who's Jim Lee? What is this? Do you understand rubbish? I don't understand rubbish.
Jimmy Lee from Double Dragon?
Jim Lee, the X-Men cover artist? Help me out. Help me out, Carlos. Well, any other baseball news that you want to talk about this week?
Let's see.
I'm hearing Aaron Hicks is the left fielder for the Yankees, according to Brian Cashman.
In the same conversation, he also mentioned they still want to get a left-handed outfielder. So read into that what you will.
It's basically they're playing hardball with the Pirates, saying we're not giving you a Juan Soto-like haul for Brian Reynolds.
Absolutely not.
There's been no market for Brian Reynolds because the Pirates think that he is Juan Soto, apparently.
Or they just don't want to get rid of him, so they're just going to ask for ridiculous stuff and hope. And if they do get it, oh, okay.
But would you want a disgruntled Brian Reynolds?
No.
Like, is that what you really want on a small market young team? And he's not necessarily young. He's older for what they're trying to do. He's like 27, 28.
Yeah.
Whereas the rest of the roster, you got a lot of guys under 24, 25. I'd move them. Outfielders are a dime. They just signed McCutchen.
Yeah, they just signed McCutchen, and they had to DFA poor Miguel Andor. But yeah. I mean, stay tuned. This is not the last we've heard about this Brian Reynolds situation. If not even early in the season, by the deadline, he's not going to get a Soto, Paul. That's for sure. And if somebody gives that to him, they're the dumbest organization ever.
There's conflicting reports out of Boston regarding Trevor Story. We heard he's out for the entire year. Trevor Story says he's not out for the entire year.
They're making some interesting moves that make little sense to me.
They're relying on Chris Sale. Chris Sale seems like a really nice guy. Not so. He was interviewed, and they're like, "Oh, how do you feel about this year?" And he said, "Well, they put Humpty Dumpty back together again." That was his answer.
Just what you want to hear from your number one pitcher.
Nuts. There's going to be as many good teams there are in the league. There's going to be some real stinkers. And I'm sorry, Baltimore Orioles fans. You better hope that every single prospect that the Orioles have that are going to play next year or this upcoming season, that they perform like Rochman did, or they're going to be back to a 100-loss team. Toronto, stacked up. Boston, they're about the same team. I figured they're still a 75 to max 84 win team if everything breaks right. The Rays are the Rays. They always do well. Zach Eflin will probably win the Cy Young to the chagrin of everyone.
Yeah.
And still, that's the biggest shock of free agency. The biggest shock. Zach Eflin, 3 years, $40 million to the Rays.
What do they know?
They're going to unlock him. It's going to be crazy.
I don't know how they do this, but they do it time and time again. I mean, yes, the Red Sox, they're making it. We joke that they're good every other year, but I can't see them being that good this year. But famous last words. But the Twins have traded for Michael Taylor for some reason.
Didn't the Twins do another trade recently?
Yeah, that's what they did. They traded for Michael A. Taylor for some reason, and so they've got like 75 outfielders.
No, but there was also the Pablo Lopez trade.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Luis Arias trade.
The biggest trade. That was the biggest.
That was a very
team.
So the Twins, who really didn't need pitching, got a pitcher, and then the Marlins picked up Arias, who they need a power hitter, and Arias is not a power hitter. It was like a bad trade for both teams.
Yeah,
Something.
I don't know. I imagine the Marlins are just going to wind up flipping him eventually. So I don't see how this helped either team. I guess they just wanted to do it before someone else did.
Mike Clevenger was in the news for news that you don't want to be in the news for. Some sort of domestic violence, Frank?
Yeah.
You sent me the...
Yeah, something. Yeah, there was apparently going back to last season, his
So it makes you...
wife involving his, not just his wife or his girlfriend. I'm not sure if she's married.
I think it was a girlfriend.
His girlfriend, and there's something about with their child too. So that's not good. You don't want to hear that.
Maybe that's why his market shrunk.
Maybe the White Sox look really interesting now that they went and signed this guy. That's going to.
But again, you're innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be fair to say. Just interesting that another one of the former Cleveland pitchers.
You have Aroldis Chapman now with the Royals.
Oh yeah.
We heard nothing about any destination for him. And then,
but I do find it interesting that the Royals are saying that like this, they're looking at him as possible. They picked him up as a possible trade bait later on.
It's a 1-year deal, right?
Yeah, so they're hoping that he's going to look good enough that they can move him or something.
That makes sense. I mean, that's probably what I would have done.
That's probably what's going to happen.
What was the contract? Like $6 million or something like that?
No, I think it's $3 million, right? Something really low.
6 with incentives.
Okay, it was very low for a guy of his stature compared to what he was getting paid before.
Cubs still dealing and looking for. Yeah, I mean the Cubs see now that the Central is weak. Mm-hmm. The Cardinals, $4 million. That makes okay.
All right.
The Cardinals are really. I don't know. They could be had. The Brewers look like they're in a slight rebuild. The Pirates are the Pirates. The
Cubs got a shot. If everything breaks well, they picked up some good pieces. So yeah.
Where would Trey Mancini play though? Would he play first base? F the Cowboys. F America's team. Talking baseball here. Talking baseball. Yeah. I don't know. You're my boy, Blue. All right, guys. Well, that's about it for this show. Let us know in the comments after who you would put in the Hall of Fame. Good night. Good luck. See you later.
All right, guys.